Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm excited. Y'all know I get excited every Monday, but I am especially excited because tonight we are having our barbershop conversation. Anika, I knew you were going to be the first one on here. Hi, everybody. I'm excited. You guys know I get so excited when the men are coming up here because this is an opportunity for me to talk to men about some of the things that we ladies talk about, but we want the male perspective. And so I search high and low to find some great conversationalists for us to talk to. And tonight I'm excited because I have two guests who are going to come on and talk to us tonight about what is love from the male perspective. So if you have not already, please like and share this post. Please like and share. Make sure, I know it's public for me, but make sure you share it's public for you guys. I'm just really excited because again, not until recently, hi Tasha, not until recently when the Lord gave me this idea, I did not see any platforms for men to express themselves in a positive light. You guys know there's no bashing over here because honestly, we need men. I have a husband, I need him. And if we didn't need men, a bunch of people wouldn't be running around waiting for a husband. So with that being said, we are going to get started because, again, I want to make sure that I give enough time for our guests, and I know it's going to be a fruitful conversation. I am going to allow them to introduce themselves. Again, tag, like, and share because, again, I want to make sure this gets out. Usually my men are the first ones on here, so I'm excited to see you guys on tonight. Y'all be ready because they be like, yes, this is our time. So I'm really excited about it. So again, tag, like, and share. First, I'm going to bring up to the podium. I'm going to bring Mel. Of course, he has his name, Melvin Johnson, up, but I'm going to call him Mel for the sake of this broadcast. So Mel, if you can introduce yourself to the audience and tell them all about yourself.
Man, thank you so much for curating this space for us to have this barbershop conversation. I'm super excited, just like you. So thank you so much. But yes, Mel is fine. Melvin, whatever you want to call me. But yes, I would love to introduce myself. You know, my name is Melvin Johnson. I'm here in Houston, Texas. As you can see, I'm in my car because we have been experiencing some unprecedented weather. It's our power is out, but you know, I always gonna make do. I don't complain about it. I just adapt and change. So I'm in my vehicle right now to have this conversation. But I'm living in Houston, Texas. I'm really from Southern California. Went to school in Virginia. But right now I am in the commercial insurance space, but I do a ton of things such as podcasts, YouTube, many different things. And I'd love to get into all of that with you. But I am a husband first and foremost, so I'm so excited that we have a topic about what is love.
Thank you so much, Mel. Y'all, he dedicated. I'm telling you, he is in his car. He contacted me earlier today and said, the power in Houston is kind of, and for those of you who are all over, you've seen it on the news, the power is out. They're doing this power turn on here, turn off there. So I'm just excited that he was able to get into his car to speak to you guys. That's how important you guys are. And this is how important this topic is. So next up, I am going to bring, this is my brother I'm bringing up. Y'all, I don't have too many brothers because you know, but this is my brother. But of course he had to come up and I'm going to call him out because he had to wear his Q shirt. So you can tell a Neo. This is my brother, Scott. Scott is in Indiana. It's Scott. So I got the South and I got the Midwest on today. So I'm excited. Scott, if you could introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, after all that Neo talk, I don't know what else is left for me to say. My name is Scott Dawson, also known as Coach D for some who follow. I am here, I am there, I am everywhere on different social media platforms. What I do, honestly, I work in the business industry, consulting and doing business strategy for startups or different entrepreneurs who need to more help finding their way. And I also have a nonprofit where I service our local communities and branch with other people to service our inner city youth and just less fortunate. Outside of that, I'm just more or less a full-time doctoral student. That's where me and my sis met right there. She did her thing. Women are more advanced than men. So
y'all heard it first. I'm going to put that on replay.
That's okay. But you know what? That's all. We just let them go first, so then we can copy. Okay, you gotta find your good cat to copy, right? So that's all I'm doing. But this is my final year, and I'm excited for that, and I'm excited for this platform that Dr. C has created for us men to be able to speak free and speak to you guys. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much. So we are going to jump right in. And Scott, I'm going to let you go first because, of course, the topic is what is love? And you guys know I tell you all the time, my listeners, I don't plan these conversations because I believe true conversations are not planned. I believe a true conversation for you to really get to learn something about someone is to have just a conversation. And so, however, I wanted to be clear before I started. And so I checked with Scott because we know that our definition of love usually comes from our family foundation. You know, as a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, you're like, I love you. I love my mommy. I love my daddy and things of that nature. And so that's the foundation of where love comes from. And I wanted Scott to, I was on a Clubhouse with Scott because he pulls me into a lot of rooms. You know, he makes sure he pings me in or whatever. And he shared his story. He was talking about love, but he shared some of his story. And I wanted to him to share on this platform because it really talks about the foundation of what we learn as children about love, but how we can evolve as adults. So Scott, if you can explain your story.
Sure. No pressure. No pressure. So, you know what? The best way to tell my story is to tell my story. My story is who I am, and it's what I am and why I am the way that I am. Taking me back to at a young age, I was grew up in poverty and homelessness, and around the age about 8 or 9, right around that time, I had been sexually abused by my father, and then soon afterwards, he actually left for good. And so not only did he hurt me once, he hurt me twice. And he created a insecurity in me about who I was as a little boy, but growing up to be a man. So I started to distrust men. I didn't like men. I didn't trust really anybody of an authority figure because 1, there was no one there to protect me. And 2, how can you say that you love me when this word love hurt me, right? And then you hear people say love hurts. No, it doesn't hurt in that way, and that wasn't love. And so growing up, I didn't identify well with men, and I struggled with school because you have people who try to get close, but then you didn't know what that feeling was. And if that feeling somewhat felt familiar, then you knew, for me in my mind, there was hurt at the end of it because no one explained what this feeling was. And so I struggled in school. It's funny because I barely made it out of high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to escape. And between being homeless and trying to understand and identify, like, what's the next step? Like, I'm just trying to get through today. And y'all talking about planning for college and whatnot. Forget college. I mean, you still got to pay for that. I can't even pay for this, and that disconnect still didn't allow me to allow people close. It put up more walls and barriers than I could identify. And through school, then the next thing I saw that I thought was for me was I joined a program called JROTC, and I fell in love with people look up to these people. And I was like, I wish people would look up to me like that. Wow. And so from that, I got a love for the Marine Corps. And so I wanted to be a Marine. And so they told me, you got to graduate high school. And I was like, junior, senior level with freshman credits, that's like, okay. So I did end up graduating. Thank you. There's a happy ending to that story, right? However, I'm grateful that on the bulletin in the order for the graduation commencement, it was by last name. So I was kind of closer towards at the beginning, because if we would have went by GPA, you would have had to flip over the bulletin, right? Then look underneath the copyright, and then you might see my name. Like, I was that guy, right? Like, that's where all the real dumb kids were like, I'm just happy I'm not that guy, right? Because I didn't even try. Like, wow. And so what I didn't realize I was thrusting myself into, where I felt like I was about to be embraced in a community of family, because even though my mom was there, she wasn't there. She was still trying to seek approval from men, and these men would dog her and then let her go. And so she was off to the next person. So I wasn't understanding love from the man or woman or family because they were too busy and no one was there. So now I'm meeting complete strangers in boot camp, and guess what? The Marine Corps was all men where I went. I didn't think that thing through, and so now I battle being around men, and I'm being told to trust the men to your left and your right. But I'm just like, I'm watching my back first of all because I remember what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can I really trust you, right? And so now I'm being asked to lead them, and now I'm questioning, how can I lead you when I don't even know how to be a man myself? I know how to follow orders, but every order should you really follow? Because now I'm making a order, I'm giving an order that could put someone's life in danger, you know? And so I battle with these things, and it created so many different identity issues because I didn't know who I was, and I was trying to be something that I wasn't. And so through the grace of God, I've survived 6 combat tours. However, the first ones that I went through, I came home, and what did I see? I saw my friends running up to their loved ones, fathers, sons, mothers, wives, all, getting embraced. And I was like, oh man, I don't know what that feels like. I want to feel that. And so, but I didn't know how to go about it. And because of that, I said, I don't ever want to feel this feeling again. Guess what? I started to take out my frustration through sex. So I would find these chicks that I knew, like, which one of y'all, go to the club, like, you the one tonight, I got you. And so even though I left them wanting to smoke a cigarette after the sex was good, you know what I'm saying? I was still empty. So that temporary satisfaction, like, they were in love and I'm over here like, I'm looking for the next one because I'm empty. And that's later on, I learned that hurt people. Even though it's a good feeling, you don't know what you're inviting into your bedroom, into your life, because you might be asking for it for a certain reason, and I'm giving it to you for a certain reason. Our reasons aren't the same, so we shouldn't even be together. You understand? And so I finally, later on in life, I got married, which I shouldn't have got in this marriage. It was a blended family. At this point, I had my young daughter, and she already had 3 almost grown kids, early teens and whatnot. I shouldn't have been in that. I saw the flags, but I said, I could be a great father to them, right? Like, I can do it, and I realized that because I wasn't their father, they didn't see me as that. So again, I felt like a failure. My wife was only with me because of what I could provide, but she put her kids first. And so now it compounded. Now this is supposed to be my family, and I'm not being accepted in my family. I'm not being shown love. You're supposed to be my wife. When you get married, I'm supposed to get these things. And I had the mindset and determination that even though these weren't my kids, I would treat them and love them like my kids. And I want to be a better father to them than mine was. Still not having that model, that image to go off of. For me, growing up, what a father was watching The Cosby Show or Family Matters or Home Improvement. Like, that's what I wanted because I didn't know that. I never saw that. I didn't even meet my first person that I grew up with until I was probably about 23 or 24, who I found out they grew up not only with both parents, but their both parents are still alive and together. And that blew my mind. Like, I was like, for real? Just because I came from a world where it was either you had one or the other, And so after going through that marriage, and it broke me down. I mean, those kids pulled out weapons on me. I'm questioning myself why I'm still loving, and I'm questioning why am I still giving to y'all? Y'all just doing nothing but taking. Y'all been taking for my whole life, and I've been allowing this thing to happen. And so I ended up having my breaking point at one day where I said enough is enough, and I had like a spirit of calmness come over me, and I was able to tell my ex-wife and say, look, you're a good person, but you're just not the right person for me. And after I got that sense of peace, then my next battle was going to go get help because I knew I needed it. And so
I want you to stop there because and I wanted you to tell your story because a lot of women don't understand, like, when you meet somebody, like your ex-wife met you, she didn't know all of these things that you dealt with leading up to getting with her.
Right.
And so now you're bringing this baggage that you hadn't even had an opportunity to deal with yet. That was love. in
Right.
your eyesight. And
Mhm.
so you brought your own definition, like you said, of love to the situation. She had her own definition. Clearly, she had some relationships prior because she had kids, you know,
Right.
when you guys came into it and everything. And so it was already a lot going on. And so that's why I wanted to talk about what is love, because a lot of times women have this fairy tale, and I'm saying women because it's true. You have this fairy tale of you're going to meet this, because again, you were in the military when you met her, so that means you had good benefits. You had, like you had little coin, like you
Yeah.
had it together, and so it's like, oh my God, I found my Prince Charming, not realizing that her Prince Charming was hurt,
Right.
was still a hurt boy
Yeah.
until you got help. And so, Mel, I want you to kind of go into what is love to you and what have you experienced. I know you mentioned you're married as well. I don't know how long you've been married, but what has your family given you as far as your foundation and definition of love?
Man, so the foundation, yes. So thank you, man. So I've been married now for this year, 2021 would be 10 years of marriage. Me and my wife have been together.
Wow.
I believe we've been together for about 13 or 14 years. Don't quote me on the exact number. We both still kind of laugh about that. But yeah, so this year would be 10 years, which is a blessing. But for me, I grew up in a two-parent household up until the age of 12, and I saw not only my father give love in many different ways, but from aunts and uncles and cousins. So I've always been the person that tried to take the good and the bad and learn from that. So if something was not right, or I saw something that I felt could be better, I've always been the one of, so that's what I don't want to do. And I've learned so much life lessons. What is love? What is a man? How does a man treat a woman? How does a husband treat a wife? Through my father, through my uncles, how they treated my aunts. But for me, just even when I hear what is love, love is so many things. It isn't, for me, it is not one particular thing. It's a lot of things. And immediately when I heard that, I thought about my wife and, the way that we communicate, the way that we love, knowing that there is no one in this world that can replace her, because it's been many times that I've told her, I said, you've made me a better man over the course of this 10 years or 13 years that we've been together, that if anything were to happen, which I know anything wouldn't happen as far as divorce or anything like that, because we both believe in marriage and working it out. But, you know, I would never remarry. And the reason I said that is because, if we were to get divorced for whatever reason, Lord forbid, knock on wood, but I don't think that will ever happen in our lifetime. But if that were to happen, I wouldn't remarry, because the next woman that will come into my life, she is benefiting off of all of the heartache and struggle and growth that you had to go through. So nobody in life, nobody in this world would deserve that. And nobody could take me from her, because there's nothing any woman can give me, because me and her have went through the battles. So at this point, it's all upside for her. Like, all the reward is coming to her. And, just to expound a little bit about what is love, for me, love is being there sometimes when you don't want to be there. Love is listening to her ups and downs and giving her counsel, whether it's work or any kind of relationship she have in her life, that maybe sometimes it could be a little draining for me to give that, but it's giving that. Obviously, the sexual part is that's one small piece of it. And love is just so many different things that I've seen over the course of my life, again, from my father, from my uncles, from cousins, from examples that I saw were bad, that I was like, you know what, that's something I don't want to do. So I learned from that in a positive way. And, love is really so many things that it's kind of hard to put a button on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think over the course of these 10 years of marriage, my wife has taught me how to love more. I think I've taught her how to love more as well. I taught her how to be a better wife, how to be a better human being, and vice versa. And that's why our bond is so strong, because we given that gift to one another. And it's like, yo, nobody can break this. Like, what's money? Like, at this point, we're in a house with no lights and no heat, no nothing, and we're happy. We're playing Uno, you know what I mean? Like,
wait, man, where's she at though? You in the car?
Wait, you're right in the house.
She in the house. She in the house tending to the she by the fireplace. I got the fireplace set up for her, so she in there.
I was like, because you in the car
watching this on her phone right now. Yeah. So she's but exactly. So that, and to me that's love. And I told her, I said, it was great this early this morning, I said, what's crazy is if you were on a trip with your girlfriends or you were somewhere at the Maldives with somebody, you would absolutely rather be right here with me and this dog in this cold house eating on some noodles than being on the beach somewhere, because this is home. No matter what's going on, no matter how turbulent our lives can be or looks to be at any given time, me and her together and whatever's going on is the best place to be, no matter what.
That is so awesome. You guys, I told y'all this was going to be a good conversation. Tag, like, and share. The comments are going. But that part, Mel, when you said being there even when you don't want to be, whew, tell me, I've been married 20, this year, because now we're in 2021. It'll be 11 years this year. And you are so right, because I tell people all the time, marriage will stretch you to places you never thought you would go, until to the point where you be sitting there like, do I really want to do this? But what's funny is you say you ask yourself if you really want to do it, but then when you out of it, you're looking for somebody else. So like you want to do it again. Like it's just, and I wanted to bring up that point because now my brother Scott is married to my awesome sister. She awesome. She fly. So I love her. I love her. So I wanted you to kind of go into, because of course now you made a decision that, you know what, this is not the person for me. I need to really truly heal and then go into something else. How did you make that transition? Because again, it wasn't that, and I want especially women who are listening to understand, it's not that a lot of times these men do not love you. It's that their definition of love is totally different than what your definition is. And that's why it's so important to have conversations before you go have babies and all these other things with men. Because again, if you're not on the same page with what love is and what the definition is, then that's where the confusion comes in. And so, Scott, I want you to kind of talk about, because you were a great guy. I mean, you're my brother. You're a great guy. But of course, the cards that life had dealt you, you were just only kind of just trying to maneuver in what you knew. And so when you made a decision, okay, now listen, let me get out of this and let me do what I need to do for myself. How long was that transition for you before you met my beautiful sis?
So, yeah, that was probably about 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, like for the first time in my life, when I got that sense of clarity and peace, I was not in a rush to jump into the next relationship. And that's what I had done, was jump. And basically, as my grandma said, I was bed hopping, basically, right? Like old school, yeah. She tell it like it is. And so, man, it's so much with that. I have been doing that because for several reasons. If one person didn't show a characteristic or a trait that the last person did, I thought it was better. And every time I thought I was stepping up or getting better, but what I realized in turn was I was running for myself because I haven't found who I was. Wow. And so while I was trying to find a better version of someone else, I hadn't accepted the first version of myself. And so when I went to go get mental help in the Black community, that's often hard because it's difficult because they think you crazy and nut or whatnot. And so that was the first step of saying, I don't know how to do this, but I need help. Mm-hmm. And so it was almost hard for me to walk in, but what made me walk into get the help was a picture on the wall that said, your mental health does not define you. And I thought about that, and that gave me confidence and courage to know let me walk through and take this. I've survived combat, being shot several times, all this. Why can't I walk through these doors? Because now we talking about, for me to walk through these doors is identifying I have a problem. And for me to identify this problem, I'm about to find out how big of a problem I really am. Not have, I am. Wow. Because this is baggage that I've been carrying around. And so I was thankful to have a counselor who was a Christian and be able to bring God into it. And instead of saying you, it was like, let's unpack this and say, God has designed a life for you, and this is what you have. You come from royalty and this and that. These are the disconnections. So when your father did this, it wasn't because it was directed towards you. The actions happened to you, but it was because of what they had went through and hadn't found and all these other things. And so she helped me realize that, one, God doesn't put more on us than we can bear. And two, that he puts things on us. And so what I bared is so that now I could be a testimony to other people. But what it did was it gave me a newfound confidence. Wow. That now all the bad things, even the bad relationships, I actually have something good. Not that I want that again, but now that I can say I'm not healed, but I'm healthier. And now I know how to identify what a successful relationship looks like, a positive one, and a woman who is not after me for what I have and won't tolerate the stuff that I was given, you know? And so I met my wife later on through a radio station that we first were on, and then we ended up buying a station. But me in Indianapolis, and she was in South Carolina, and we met, and I saw her doing a couple of shows, and I'm like, she's spitting fire like me. Like, we motivate and empower people. And so not having to be around her, you know, allowed me to kind of watch, and she didn't know I was watching. And then she put a picture on Facebook that then she knew I was watching, because I reached out to her after that. It was that full body challenge. She'll tell you. After that, I was all in the DM. Because before it was all of this, and I'm like, she ain't got no legs, man. I don't mind pushing a wheelchair. That's love, right? But when she showed the full body, I was like, Lord, I know the right one when I see it. And so, we met. And so one thing that we both said, because she had been previously married and went through a bad decision, and this is how I really knew that not only have I arrived in my own identity, but my self-control was, we agreed that we were going to do this right. Even though we both had kids, I had daughter, she had daughter. We weren't going to have sex. We weren't going to do all the things that would lead us into where we had been. And her being strong in that allowed me to know, like, this is a whole new love language. Because in my previous marriage, like, I could do a whole teaching on the 5 love languages. I read all the books trying to make it work. Like, Lord, I'm saging. I'm throwing oil on her while she's sleeping. Like, why am I wet? I'm like, oh my God, this ain't working. Do I light a match? I mean, something, right? Like Chris Rock used to say, you ain't been married unless you contemplated killing your spouse at some point. He said, you ain't really been married. And so I've been there, but I found myself first and truly understood what it was to love myself. And then when I understood the love of myself, I could see the love that I wanted to see in others. And that is what connected and bridged from afar. And it's been great ever since. And so everything that I've went through, I realized has strengthened me so I can encourage other people. However, going through it is not always fun. But when you get through, and it's still challenges, it's definitely challenges. However, I have a good sense to pull from, to say, hey, I'm good.
Wow. Now, Mel, what would you tell, like, because there's guys now, and I'm going to be honest, like, and Scott said it too, that there's some women like, what can you do for me? They're out to get this, they're out to get that, whatever. But there's a lot of guys, especially now in their 20s and early 30s or so, who really want companionship. Like, they really want to be married. I've met a lot of young guys that's like, I want to be married, but one, they didn't come from a home with 2 parents. They don't really know what marriage looks like, but they want it because they know they don't want to be alone. Like, they want to have children and all that other stuff. And they feel like having a family unit is to have that. how would you counsel them? Because again, they're looking for something that as a man they've never experienced. But at the same time, they want to build something with somebody. And so how would you mentor or coach a younger guy who's saying, I want love, but I don't know what it looks like?
One, I would say if they're looking to get married and they're looking for a partner in that partnership and they're striving for that, I would say why? I would say there's no rush in that. Like, it's easy to be on the outside looking in and seeing, this friend's getting married, that friend's having a child. For me, I take a step back and say why. For me, there is no rush to that. I mean, you can get married at 23, you can get married at 37. There really is no rush for me when I think about it that way. And I think it really is important for you to be healthy with yourself and love yourself. I love myself so much. It's ridiculous. Like, not I'm not conceited by any means, but I definitely love myself. And it's not because my wife, she'll tell you, it's a lot of times she say, I don't know who was praying for you because I don't know how you got me. Because my wife is beautiful. She does all the right things. And I am truly fortunate and lucky. But I believe I deserve that as well. So even though I did get married young, I got married at 26, which is relatively young. I was probably the first one out of my friends. But I knew what I had in my wife, Shamika, and I didn't want to let that go. And I was willing to make that work. But in full honesty, I was still probably a little bit too young to get married in the sense that I had a lot of growing up to do. Now, thank God I married the right one because she allowed me to become mature and become the husband and become the man that she knew I could be in the midst of me still finding out how to be 100% the best husband that I needed to be and the best husband that she needed in me. So, one, I would say, you really have to find yourself. I would say don't rush it because, in all honesty, if my wife wasn't as patient with me and watching me and helping me grow, it's many times she probably could have said, yo, I don't want to do this no more. I'm done. And it probably, in some of those situations, been well within her right to do so. And I would have lost that. But obviously, I picked a wonderful partner for me that knew when to stick it out, what she needed. Not that she had to, but she helped me grow. But I knew who I was as a man too. I knew that what I can bring to the table. And it wasn't one-sided, it wasn't lopsided. I helped her grow in a lot of different ways as well. But I think it's really important for that individual that's looking for that to say why. Why are you seeking that so quickly? What are you looking for? You need to find that in yourself first. You have to love yourself. You have to know what love is yourself. You have to do a lot of things before you bring somebody into that relationship, because anybody that's been married is going to tell you, anybody that's been married for some time is going to tell you that love is hard, love takes time, love is patient, love is a lot of different things, and all of that is 100% true. But both individuals walking into that marriage, you both have to be very, very patient, very confident in yourself before you're able to display that for somebody else. So that's what I say. My wife, she was married before. I was not married before, which definitely helped our relationship because she was married previously. I don't think that if she had not been married before she married me, I don't know if she would have had the patience. I don't know if our relationship would be where it is today. So I thank God for that. But everybody is different. But I will say you have to take a look at yourself first before you bring somebody in there, because hurt people, like Scott said. And if two toxic people don't know how to communicate, don't know how to be in a relationship together, it's not going to work. So you both individually have to be there first in order for that to be a healthy, long, loving marriage, and the one that people want to grow up to be like, honestly. But it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work and a lot of communication.
Now, Scott, of course, this is you talked about this is your second marriage. Well, after you got past the full body shot, third. This your third. That's right. Y'all, I'm telling you, I thank God for my sister. She got him off the market. But that's right. This is your third marriage. Right. So wait a minute. Give the people a snapshot of the ages when you got married.
Woo. We're not even counting fiancés who didn't make the cut.
Wait a minute, Scott, y'all. But he already told y'all his grandma said he was bed hopping. So
I was.
how many? But this is a perfect example, and that's why I want you guys to talk about this. It's not that a lot of men are just running around here just trying to do people dirty. It's truly they're looking for something. And that's why, as women, we have to be cognizant of what they're looking for and whether or not you're going to play the game, whether or not you're going to stay around, whether or not you're going to be in it for the long haul. So you've been married 3 times. What are the 3 ages when you got married?
So the first one was while I was in the military. So I want to say I was about 21, about to turn 22.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I'll stick to the ages. The next one I was 28, about to turn 29 or 20, something like that. Yeah, because she was older than me. And then here recently I was 36.
36 when you got married. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, you kept trying that love. It just wasn't, So
well, you know what?
Counseling after your second marriage.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I'm gonna say about that with love and things that I want to tell anybody, and this I think it happens more often than people realize, and I actually had a conversation about it with someone, and it reminded me. Oftentimes, people fall in love with the potential they see in someone, but that potential is not their reality, and some people just won't ever measure up, and it's not your job to get them there. You cannot do it for them, And then the second thing is, and this is where it helped me after, but I saw it during my second, which was the worst marriage, was I saw all the red flags. I saw them. Even till it was time to walk out to the altar. And I was like, to myself, well, dang, all these people done came from out of town. Wow. I don't want to disappoint, but here's what it is. For example, and I'm just using this as an analogy, women will see men. And it could be men. I'm just using that as an example. Women might see men and they say, oh, he's great and this and this and this. All the while, he's being himself. But you see what you want to see because you see what you think you can help him, change him, or anything like that. And then the moment you get fed up and tired, you want to say, oh, he a dog. He ain't this. But the thing about it was, no, sis. He's been the same from the beginning. You just opened your eyes. And so that's where it goes back to where I had to learn myself so that I wasn't seeing what I wanted to see or potential, but I knew exactly where I stood firm. Where I told people after that, I said, look, I'm not dating you if you got more than 2 kids. 0 to 1. Like I was adamant. I'm like, because that was too much. And then if you didn't have one, it was shaky because you might not have any kind of kid experience, which I had to let a female go. On paper, we were Michelle and Barack Obama, but the thing about it was she couldn't connect with my daughter. And I'm just like, that's my child. Like, we ain't married, so she come before you. You don't have any motherly skills. But when I met my wife and my daughter was older, they were they're about 6 years apart. She knew how to be motherly. She had been in a marriage and she knew what she wasn't willing to take. She knew herself. I was in a marriage and knew what I wasn't willing to take, but we weren't bumping heads. We were
complimenting. Thank you.
We were complimenting one another. And so that's the biggest thing that I wanted to say, that it's not the more times you get married, you get better. No. You got to put in that practice and all the other stuff, like you said. But the biggest thing is knowing yourself, loving yourself.
Wow. And I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of times it's funny because you're right. I've had somebody called it a Build-A-Bear syndrome. I have experienced Build-A-Bear syndrome, where I was with somebody who I wasn't even attracted to at first. We became friends. See, this is what men do to you. They know they want you, but they know you might not see them like that, so they become your friend. And so he had became my friend. He grew on me, but he wasn't somebody I was checking for. But then after he grew on me, the fact that you had to grow on me was a problem. But then once he grew on me, like you said, I started seeing potential. Oh, we could do this. If he does this, then we could do that. Once I do this, we could do this. And as things started happening, and I mean, we got deep into it. Like I was in a full-blown relationship with this person. And then, of course, all of the things that I knew I didn't like, I started seeing. And those were the reasons why he was in the friend zone to begin with. But because, again, he grew on me and I seen all this potential, I'm in a bad situation now that I'm like, okay, I don't want to be here no more. And clearly he don't want to be here no more either. So how are we going to get out of this? And so it's funny because we feel this pressure because we've been with people for a certain amount of time, or we feel this pressure because, like you said, on your wedding day, you knew it wasn't right. But because people had came from out of town, you still got married. Like them same people was going to be in your marriage. And we have these preconceived notions of we got to impress people or make people comfortable with our relationships. When truth be told, the next day after they eat their fried chicken and stuff at your reception and give you $10 in a card, they're going to go and mind their business and talk about why y'all should have got married in the first place. That's kind of how it works. And so I wanted women, and this is why I want to have this conversation, because a lot of times women think men are just walking around not wanting to get married or not wanting to be in a committed relationship. And a lot of times it's that they're just trying to find themselves. They're trying to make sure that they know everything about themselves, that they're confident in who they are, that they can actually take on a wife. Because that's another thing I don't think women understand, that real men, when they make a decision to take on a wife, regardless of the financial structure and stuff like that, this is my opinion, you guys could correct me, they go into it like, this is my family and I'm going to protect and provide for you. And so if men are shaky in that area and they're not sure if they can provide for you, it's not that they don't love you. It's just that I don't know if I can meet that expectation. And so, Mel, I wanted to talk about male expectations when it comes to love, because women just look at it as, okay, he wants to be with me. We're going to be together. We're going to rule the world. Like you said, we're going to be like Barack and Michelle. And if people really look at Michelle's story, she had to grow. She had to wait for Barack to grow up. he was like, there's some growing in that. You're not going to automatically get somebody who's at 100%. However, at the same time, men have insecurities about taking on a spouse, taking on children, all of these other things. And so I wanted to hear the male perspective about what goes into that thought process, because it's not, I don't love you. It's, yo, all these responsibilities.
Yeah. No, I'm excited about this one, because when I hear this, I agree 100% that, you can't, that Build-A-Bear syndrome, but in being totally transparent and totally honest, I know my wife fell in love with the potential that she saw in me, because I fully honestly believe if a young lady is interested in getting married with a man under the age of 30, 32, like between anything under 30, 32, that guy is full of potential, because a lot of times that guy just doesn't know what he wants to do. He's still trying to figure himself out in business, in life, how to provide and protect in a lot of situations. And there's some outliers that probably have that already like taken care of in that 26 to 20, 27, 28, 29, whatever. But a lot of times you have to grow with that. And I feel like in my relationship, it is that Barack and Michelle story, to where, my wife Shamika, she was the Michelle, and she had to be a little bit of patient, and she had to watch me grow into my potential, to where now it's almost totally reversed, to where now that I am fully in my potential and everything is about business, like I'm focused because I have podcasts going. I got my 9 to 5 with my commercial insurance. I have a product in the Kindle line coming out. I have so many different things going on. And now she's like, okay, well, now it really took off. Where do I fit in? And, I have a business idea, and she's watching me, and now it's like, she feels like she's along for the ride. So everything that she dreamt and prayed for that I would grow into is now coming into fruition, to where I'm business 24/7. I'm up, I'm thinking about things, where it's almost lighting the fire under her. And I think that and just in my opinion, this is just one man's opinion, but if you feel like you're gonna fall in love and get married with somebody that is younger than 30, there's gonna be a lot of patience. You're gonna have to almost watch him become a man. But once he becomes a man, now there's a whole nother dynamic to where you got to be like, where do I fit in? Is he going to leave me for somebody else because of X? Because that's another conversation that potentially could come up. But for me at this point, it's almost like now my wife she has to bring something more to the relationship. Not that she has to, or I'm looking for that because that's my road dog, that's my baby. There's nothing more she has to bring. I'm still trying to repay everything that she done to get me to this point, right? So, but if I were single right now and in my body right now at 26, about to be, 35, about to be 36 next month, like if I was out dating, that person, that individual has to bring a lot to this relationship. It's like, what are you doing to make me better? Like you can't just allow, like, we're not just going to these nice restaurants and I'm buying you stuff. Like, what are you bringing? I have this going on, I have X going on. What are you doing for me? You can't be with me just because you look good. Like, and that's what I feel like if you're dealing with, for females that's watching this, if you're dealing with a man that's business minded, especially Scott got a lot of stuff going on. I see what he's doing. If you're dealing with a young man, with a male that's already grown and doing something, you have to bring something to that relationship. You can't be cute. You can't be the IG. I just want to see here. You have to be like, how are you going to make me better? How are you going to get me in front of the next business owner? What are you bringing to that relationship? And that's just two different sides. Like, and for my wife, like she doesn't have to do that so much now because she's done everything from the beginning. So now she just along for the ride, but she always makes me better. She always makes me think. And what's funny is we built this house, remodeled it, and we have this big shower. It's probably like a 10x6 with double shower heads. And what's great about that she brought it up that I didn't think about, but in the mornings and the evenings, if we're both taking showers together, we can download, we can think about new ideas. If she has an idea, we can talk about it. And I didn't realize it for the past 2 years. It's been like that, but that's our opportunity to download and feed into each other. It's like, baby, I like what you did. Hey, that last show that you did with Shondo on your 1% Better Everyday show, I like that conversation. I like what you're doing with the candles. And for her, she like, hey, I had an idea that I want to start doing this. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's put some fire to that. What do we need to do next? And for us, now we curated this wonderful space that we can do that in. But for any individuals, any females that's out there listening, from my perspective, in my opinion, if somebody was to date me now without being married and now being the man that I am now with businesses and money in my pocket and things of that nature, you just can't be cute. You have to bring something to this relationship.
That's it.
That's it. I'm glad you said that. And I'm glad you talked about people wanting to be married under 30 and stuff like that. Again, I'm not saying, but I do believe that as women, you need to travel. You need to do as much as you can as an individual and go out on your own before you get married. Of course, I know that's not everybody's story, but I say that to say because a lot of times there are some women who are sitting around waiting for when I get married or when I get somebody, then we're going to build this and we're going to build that. And like you said, there's dudes that they're saying now, all right, I already built this stuff over here. What you got? Like it's no, now you come along. It's what are you bringing? And then we're going to kind of curate this stuff together and figure something out. And Scott, I wanted you to kind of talk about, because you said that you and your wife met working together and actually bought a radio station and some of the other things. And that's kind of what Mel talked about, the fact that you had already, now you're a grown man at this point. So you clearly know what you want, you know what you like, you know what you see. But the fact that you really got to know her because y'all were in two totally different states. So you really got an opportunity to know her and build something with her before getting married. And I wanted you to kind of talk about that as well, too, because again, I know a lot of women are saying, because I got married, I was 34 when I got married. I was 34. My husband was 35 when we got married. whatever. And I was glad that I waited because honestly, I wasn't ready in my 20s. I didn't want to be nobody's wife. I wanted to travel the world. I didn't want nobody telling me what to do, all of these things or whatever. But unfortunately now, because of Instagram and social media and all this stuff, everybody want to be booed up. Everybody got relationship goals, but nobody understands the importance of self-identifying who you are first. So when you link up with somebody, you can really be relationship goals, because just taking flicks on social media is not relationship goals. Everybody can take a cute picture. Doesn't mean that y'all got anything going. Anybody can do all of that. And so, Scott, I wanted you to kind of talk about, because now at this point, you're in your third marriage and now it's right. Mm-hmm. Now it's right. And so because again, you went through therapy and now you're with this woman and it's connecting, it's clicking. What was the difference?
So I'm gonna tell you this. I don't know if Chris ever told you this or not, but she almost didn't make the cut. So yeah. So going back to what Mel was saying was this. Because I knew who I was already established and doing things, multiple things. When I reached out to her, look, I'm a high D, so I'm boom, 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 boom. I'm getting stuff done. She wasn't responding. Like she would respond a little here and there, and I'm like, I'm trying to have a conversation, and then it's 4-5 days later, but I'm seeing you on live and doing this, and I was like, so I told myself, if you don't respond to this next message, I'm done, because you're not going to be entertaining a little bit here, and I'm coming at you and I'm approaching you like a man, right? And so as a man, me being confident, and I'm like, I don't need this because I don't have to extend myself, whatever. So to go back and answer your question, and what has been different from identifying myself is being able to sit down and have that conversation. Let me back up a little more. When two people of like minds or maturity, let's just say good maturity, and I think experience plays a part, there are certain things that almost don't even need to be said. It's understood. You know what I'm saying? Like willing to entertain the opposite sex or whatnot. And when we have those conversations, it's like I can have that conversation with my wife about my best friend who's a female. But because she trusts me and she knows our relationship, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? However, she doesn't need to spell out, I don't expect this or you don't do that. So it's the barriers, it's the foundation and the outline of it, of what we went through, that we're in our own identities, we put out a positive energy that says that in order to keep this Barack and Michelle now, which we are in our own way, to keep this empire strong. I think she used to say we were like Cookie and Lucians. That's lions, but after they got canceled, we had to pick up. So I said, let's just stay with what works, right? Y'all don't know my wife; she a little firecracker. So we challenge each other intellectually. Where she's the bubbly person and warm, I'm the black and white, like you got one chance to cross me. Like I'm gonna be happy and smiling, how you doing, and pray for you, but you cross me and I'm like, that's that where I grew up, but we balance each other, because then she's like, nah, give him a second chance before you pop a cap, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right, I'll put it back on save, like the love of God, let's do this, right? And so it helps me interact better with the kids and whatnot. So where I'm more assertive in some things, I balance her out to where she's softer. And so that's that building where we're both entrepreneurs, and our mindset and her love language is acts of service, mine is physical touch. So I'm just like, baby, you know what time it is, right? But if I'm wanting that, I understand her love language because I'm mature, and I'm like, the house is clean. I cooked dinner. The kids are in bed. I washed them, helped them with their homework, folded the laundry. Baby, what else you want to talk about? Right? You know what I'm saying? I understand the maturity that goes into what I'm expecting. Mm-hmm. You got to inspect what you expect. So I understand the value now to understand that if you want something, it's not for the sake of just saying that you want it. It's for understanding that it's a give and take. If I want her to feel comfortable, let me speak her love language. Let me give her what she needs to be loved. And she accepts and appreciates my love language. And so when we meet in the middle, it's all good. And that's where the maturity comes in. Now, that don't mean we don't have rough days, because two entrepreneurs going at it 24/7. Sometimes it's kind of like, you need to get your kids. I ain't had them kids by myself. And he be like, well, that's just one us better, because, that just happens. And then we sit down at the end of the day and say, you're right. I'm here with you. It's just, wow. you got to have growing pains somewhere to grow, So, but yeah, that's been a difference. Is really when you know yourself, you can identify what you want in someone else. And then the same thing for them when they know themselves. And then that's when you become so compatible that you complement each other.
Well, I'm glad you talked about that. And we're about to wrap up in a couple of minutes. So, ladies, one of the things I've gathered is it's so important to know yourself and have your own identity before you're going into these committed relationships. Because if you really truly want to build something with a man, you have to be confident in who you are, because then if he's confident in who he is, then you're gonna start building things. And you can't be insecure in who you are when you're with a man who's like, let's get it done, let's do this, let's do that, and you still need somebody to pat you on the back and say you're pretty today. I'm not saying that you don't do that, but what I'm saying is at the end of the day, like, we have to come to a level. And that's why when I talk to young girls who are like 19 and 20, talking about they need somebody and they looking for somebody, and I'm like, you don't even know yourself. You don't know what you like. You're not going to be the same person at 30, and you already looking for somebody to spend your life with, whatever, based on what you've experienced, which is most of the time nothing, nothing of substance, where you're able to make a decision that way. And again, I'm not saying that people who get married younger are not ready. It's just that you have to know who you are. And self-identity is so important to get into that. So I wanted to close out with this, because again, we talked about love. We talked about, and I like how Mel talked about love being so many different things, because I think too, when we look at love, everybody looks at love as all the good. Like, oh my God, love. And yesterday was Valentine's Day, and I loved the expressions of love. My husband, he did me right for Valentine's Day, whatever, took care of me. However, what I've experienced in love is one of the most challenging, because to me, I believe you make a decision to love. How people say, oh, I fell in love and all that. I believe you make a decision to love. And especially once you make a commitment to be with someone, you make a decision every single day that you wake up to love better than the day before. And so that's why when people say, oh, relationships are work or marriage or work or whatever, in my opinion, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that you make a decision every day that this is where I am, mind, body, and spirit, emotionally, physically, everything. This is where I am. I don't want to be anywhere else. And even if you get in on my nerves today or tomorrow or whatever, this is the decision I've made to be here. And so as we get ready to close out, because again, I want people to, when they walk away from this conversation, to understand and know that men want love, men experience love, but then at the same time, just like women, you may have issues with past relationships. You have, baby daddies that you're still trying to filter and work out that baggage and that emotion, or you've been lied to, or you've been cheated on. And so now you're trying to figure out that emotion or whatever. Men experience the same things. And it's funny because we always act like we're so different, but when you really have a conversation, we're more the same. We just process see, I'm using Mel's word. We process differently. We process differently. So, Mel, because I want to talk about processing, since that's your area of expertise. How do we, moving forward, how do we process? Because again, like you said, everybody has their own definition of love. Especially, and I want to kind of, all of us are married. I really want to kind of talk to people who are on this quest for love, or they had Galentine's Day on Saturday. I don't know what the men call it. The men probably don't even care. They just want to go somewhere and it feel normal. They tired of quarantining. But what does this process look like? How do I get to there? What is the process?
Man, I would say the process is, like we said before, first you have to love yourself and know what you're looking for, what you want. But that process of building a long-term relationship is, you have to fall in love with every aspect of that marriage. Like for me, there's nothing that my wife can do that I get upset about, because I almost expect it. Because I'm not under the belief that everything is going to be peaches and creams and roses. Like, I don't do too much arguing, but if there is a disagreement or she says something, like I take that in stride. Like that comes with this. Like this is going to be a long-term marriage of 40 plus years, hopefully 50, until one of us actually departs this earth. And in knowing that, you can't tell me that something isn't going to happen in that course. So for me, every day is a process. I take the good with the bad and appreciate the good with the bad just as much. Obviously, we don't accept any disrespect from either party. We always respect one another, but I expect that there's going to be challenging times, and I love those challenging times. And that for me is the process. There was a picture that I saw recently. You might have seen it on Instagram. It was a meme. It was like two very old couples in the park, sitting on the park bench, and it was raining. And the old man had it was raining on him. The old man had an umbrella hanging over his wife's head. They both had a mean face, like they was upset with one another, but the caption was something to the effect of, love is still loving even when you're mad, or still looking out for your spouse even when you're mad. Like that's a part of it. Like for me, that's what it is. Like I'm mad at you, or whatever the case may be, but I'm still going to make sure you're all right. I'm going to hold that umbrella over you. And that also is love. Like don't get that twisted. Just because when you're in a disagreement, that is also love, because two people coming together having a disagreement is natural. That's going to happen. You're two people coming from different backgrounds, with different experiences, with different traumas. So that's going to happen, but that's a part of that process of building a long-term marriage of 50 plus years. So me personally, I accepted and agreed and am ready for that. Sometimes my wife is not so much optimistic as me, but I know that's coming. So I appreciate that just as much as us having a drink or a nice dinner. So I would say the process it's all of that, and you just have to enjoy every piece of that, because all that is what makes a relationship. It's not all good, it's not all bad, it's everything, but you have to enjoy everything as it comes and deal with it and move on to the next, because every experience, good or bad, is going to make you better and prepare you for whatever else is to come in that relationship, that you can tackle that maybe better than what you did in the past. So that's that process of love in that marriage for me.
Thank you so much, Mel. And Scott, I mean, first of all, thank you so much for sharing your story, Scott, with us. So you went from being sexually abused by your own father, to then being abandoned by your father, to then being in the military leading men, to then being married twice before this now current marriage, and going through therapy and finding yourself and doing all those things, and being a dad and being an entrepreneur. So what would you say to the wounded man who's like, Dag, you did it, but how did you find the strength and the courage to do it? Because honestly, when I heard your story, because I mean, we talk all the time, but when I heard your story, I was so, and I can't use the word amazed. I was so encouraged. One, because especially Black men, there's already a stigma about Black men not being good fathers, not being good husbands, not being good men in general. And the fact that not only did you go through this, because there's a lot of things that men go through that they never talk about. It is you know, it's just not the place, the platform, or anything to talk about. And the fact that you not only shared your story, because I know there are more men out there who've experienced what you've experienced. And now today you stand as a confident Black man who's about to be in the top 2% with a doctorate degree in business, who's an entrepreneur. I'm going to say you a Q. Oh, Lord. But all of these obstacles that you've overcome to get to the man you are today is just proof to me that when you make a decision that I want to be better, I just don't know how, and I need help, that you can get there. And yes, there's people you hurt along the way. Let's be honest, all of us, if we look at our past, we've hurt people. But the fact that you are now in, like, you're really in this evolution of, and of course, you know, you're Coach D now. Next year, you'll be Dr. D. Yes, Dr. D or whatever. But I want you to kind of talk to that man who's in that now, because again, you went through that process years ago. Like, what would you say to that man who's still, and I don't want to use the word stuck because I just think it's a part of the process. But how do they now move through that to get to where you are today?
So that is a great question, Dr. C. I'm going to say that comes in the form of every man is going to be different. So a couple of tips on what I had to identify. One, in identifying yourself, before you love yourself, you have to learn not to hate yourself and everything that you went through. I hated my name. Everything that my name was like my father's stench still all over my body. It was a constant reminder. When I started to find myself, I said, I can keep this stench on me, or I can change the way it smells. I can add some things to this ingredient that changes the smell, but it still makes up what it is. And so I said, even though I'm a Dawson, and I hated that name, even though it comes from a line of royalty, I said, I can be the first one who doesn't do the things that he did and his father did, and so on as far back as they went. And so there, right then, I made the decision that I am in control of my life. Because at the time, the few years, the 20, 30 years did not make up the lifespan average to the 70 years I still had to come to 100, you know, whatever. And so that's my time. I'm not going to give him my entire life.
Wow.
And because of that, I made a decision to, through my actions and words, be intentional and start to say what I mean and mean what I say. And so for the men going forward is be the change that you want to see. If you don't want to be the things that remind you of your past, be better than that. I was a truck driver for a while because I needed to do that to survive. And my father was a truck driver for 50 years. And so that was a connection I hated. I'm like, I don't want to be reminded. But then I had to remind myself, but what am I doing? He didn't come home to his family. I made every opportunity to come home, and I knew this was temporary to provide food on the table. And it gave me that shift and put me in a position to where I could get into management. Like, I took it the next level up to where when I did cross paths with my father later on, he was still driving trucks. And I'm saying, as long as you're doing this, I've been doing this for 5 years and I'm senior management. You should have a fleet of trucks. I'm already better than you, right? And so I was then, as my confidence started building with my identity, I was able to face him and say, you weak, poor man. But then after that, I had to have grace because I have my flaws where, you know, I fall short. And so with my daughter, she looked up and she would ask me questions that were at times uncomfortable, like, how come I never see your daddy? Like, my dad is here. I see you. You're awesome. I love you. But how come I've never met your dad? Right. And so then, that's a tough pill to answer for a child. But I was real with her with some things, in a kid way. But for the longest, I never wanted to have a son. I would give to women, your princesses and whatnot. And it was only in the last 2 to 3 years that I felt that I was ready to have a son. And God sent him that son. And guess what? Now he is Scott Perry Jr., Scott Perry Dawson Jr., because now I know I am the example that he needs to see. So that's where make a decision that you're not like the other person, that the other person was there for a season, but they don't have to be there for a lifetime. You control that. The second thing is forgive yourself and forgive them. It goes back to what Nelson Mandela says, when you have hate and all that stuff, that's like you drinking poison expecting them to die. You got to get rid of all that. You got to love yourself. You can't look at what everybody else has. I want that marriage. I want that. And I wanted that. But as a grown man, what I learned is comparison is the thief of joy.
Whew.
Appreciate what God has given you because he gave it to you for a certain reason. And if he's at your neighbor house, guess what? Be happy because he's in your neighborhood, right? Hey, seriously. So with all that, you need to understand and write down for the men who are going through this, what does a better life look like? Not the fancy things, the hard things, and start with the small, harder things to get through those, to give you confidence to break through the bigger, harder things, and then accept that you are not perfect, but you are trying. Wow. And live with that. Every day, you got to try. In a marriage, every day, you have to try. Even when it's smooth sailing, I got to get up and babe, what do you want to eat? What do you want that? Just because yesterday was good, I still got to try. Because if I don't try, it won't be good. So if you don't try, you're going to go backwards or stay exactly where you are. So trying is growth. Trying is forgiveness and acceptance. So that's all.
Wow. Well, thank you both so much. Mel, I want you to tell the people where they can find you, where they should follow you. Y'all, I be watching his stuff all the time. He is so awesome. So if you can kind of tell the people where you are, he does a podcast. It is awesome. So if you can kind of give your information.
Absolutely. Thank you so much once again for this platform. But if you want to follow me, please follow me on all social media platforms at Process the Mel. That is Process the Mel, MEL. If you want to tune in to the podcast that we have, I do it with my brother Shondo Blades. It's called the 1% Better Everyday Show. If you go to my Instagram, you'll be able to see that. We're going through a transformation, so this might be the first time this has ever been said, but we are creating and transitioning from the 1% Better Everyday Show to Gladiator School. So come in March, the first Monday of March, the show will be revamped and with new logo. It's going to be called Gladiator School. It's going to be exactly what it sounds like. It's for alpha males to come and really learn and get some good takeaways about some of the stuff that we talked about today. But it's going to be some action items behind that. So I'm very excited about that. We have some exciting things coming up in the next few months. But please, if you want to tune into everything that I have going on, go there and you'll learn more about my insurance business. You'll learn more about my candle line, Wix and Vibes, WIX. I have a lot of things going on, but the easiest way is go to Instagram or Facebook or wherever, but Instagram, and go to Process the Mel, and you'll be able to see everything there.
Well, I'm excited about Gladiator School because it's for the alpha male, as he said. It's coming March 1st. You can go follow him on Instagram, Process the Mel, that's MEL, where you can get all the information. But I'm excited about Gladiator School because it's for men. And you guys know I've been on this kick for the last couple of months that while we're in this pandemic and all of this stuff is going on, we cannot forget about our men. I'm raising 2 boys. And I have to constantly check in on their emotions and constantly check on what's going on with them. And it's the same thing with our men. They're not superheroes, even though they put on their cape when they need to, but they are not superheroes. So I'm excited about the Gladiator School. It's going to be a place for alpha men. So if you're an alpha male, go follow Process the Mel. If you can't get that information, shoot me a message. I'll make sure you get connected, because I believe that men need each other, especially now. Can't go to the sports bar really no more. Can't get to the football game. So we need platforms and places for men to be able to come together. And last but not least, Scott, if you could tell the people how to connect.
First of all, y'all can connect with me in prayer, okay? Every day I need some uplifting. So really I've gotten rid of a lot of my social media. So right now I am mainly on Instagram. So what you see in the description or the name title, Scott P. Dawson Sr., that is my Instagram handle. And then on Clubhouse as well. So just type in my name or type in Scott P. Dawson, no senior on that one. That's pretty much where I am dedicating most of my time to empower and encourage people. And from there, you guys can reach out at me from any other place, whether it's my business website or anything like that.
Scott, can you also talk about the club that you have on Clubhouse? Because you actually have a club that's established on Clubhouse as well.
Yes. Okay, so Inspired Ascensions is actually my company. It's actually my LLC and my nonprofit. So that's what it is. So basically what I do is I do different things: empowerment, motivation, inspiration. We teach business lessons, how to help you build your foundation, help you sustain your business, help you with your business plan. We have different people come in talking about health and wellness. We get in there and we expose it. I'm throwing myself out there. So topics like the mask we wear, or he touched me there, things like that, to where I'm creating a safe place with the people who are there as well, so we can discuss these things. And I'm always usually the first one to go. So, like, hey, this ain't just to put your business out there. Like, I'm there. Like, I can't help you if I'm not being transparent myself. And so I don't mind doing that.
Well, thank you both so much. I told you guys they were going to be awesome. The comments are saying, thank you both so much. You both are awesome. Thank you, one, for coming on my platform. Like you guys here, they got their own stuff going on, and they're inspiring and encouraging and motivating, which is what we're here to do. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, tag, like, and share. Get this out, because as always, I do believe, y'all know, I don't just do a topic. I wait for God to tell me what we're going to talk about. Then that's what we talk about. But I know that this topic is going to help someone, specifically help men get to another place. Because again, we can't forget them. Although, excuse me, we're wrapped up in our own lives and being mothers and being wives and all these things that we juggle and being nurturers. We have to also understand and know that men need each other to survive. So thank you both so much. Oh, and by the way, if you guys have not, please make sure that you join the C-Suite Society. I will post the link in the comments. That's the place where I can't talk about everything on social media, on live. There's some spaces that need to be sacred. And so the C-Suite Society is where that's happening. I'll make sure I post the link. Tasha, if you're still here, if you can post the link to that and ping it, that would be great. But again, because there's some topics we just cannot talk about live all over social media. I don't want to get blocked. Social media lock you down. You say certain words and do certain things. But I believe that these transparent conversations are needed. People need transparency. People need help. People need strategy to get to the next. And I'm just excited because, of course, I'm with two men who are already doing this, and they're doing it, and they're doing it well. So again, the Gladiator School, Inspired Ascensions on Clubhouse. Make sure you connect with these men. I'm sure they'll be willing to help you in any way that they can. So I'm just really excited about what God is doing in their lives and how he's moving through them in order for us to be a better people. So again, good night, everybody. And thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.